Sarah sat on the porch, the warm afternoon sun casting golden rays across the quiet street. As she absently stroked Max's fur, she couldn't shake the feeling of impending change like the air before a storm. The tranquility of the day was deceptive. An unsettling whisper clung to her thoughts. It was almost as if the universe was preparing to throw her a curveball. "You're wondering what's coming next, aren't you, Max?" She sighed, her voice low and reflective. The dog lifted his head, ears perked up as if sensing her distress. To anyone else, it might have looked like a peaceful moment, but deep inside, Sarah's mind raced. It had been nearly a year since her mother married Jake's father, intertwining their lives in ways that sometimes felt more like a tangled web than a family. She had always been fiercely independent, and now she was supposed to share not just her home, but her life with a stepbrother, one who had once been her closest friend and now felt like a stranger. The memories flooded her mind, each one a bittersweet reminder of a shared childhood filled with laughter. They had climbed trees, built forts in the living room, and even gotten in trouble for sneaking cookies from the jar when they were supposed to be napping. There had been something magical about those days, an unbreakable bond that felt like it could weather any storm. But now, all of that felt lost, and when she thought of Jake, that bond seemed to flicker like a candle in a draft. Just as her thoughts spiraled deeper, she heard the distinct crunch of gravel underfoot. Her heart skipped a familiar sound that she both anticipated and dreaded. Jake. He was back. "Hey, Sarah." His voice rang out with a casual cheerfulness that clashed with her somber mood. There he was, his tall frame silhouetted against the vibrant backdrop of the setting sun. For an instant, the sight of him whipped up a mix of nostalgia and an inexplicable tension. "Hi," she answered hesitantly, her heart racing in a way that made no sense. Was this the moment when everything would change again? She forced a smile, trying to mask her inner turmoil. "I brought Max a bone." He knelt down, pulling out a large chew toy from his backpack and presenting it to her dog, who bounded excitedly. Watching them interact, Sarah felt an ache in her chest. This was the Jake she remembered, so effortlessly likable, the center of attention, the one who had always made her smile even when she didn't want to. "Where have you been?" she asked, her voice softer than intended. "Oh, you know," he shrugged, a teasing grin on his face. "Just saving the world, one school project at a time." He was so lighthearted, a stark contrast to the weight she felt dragging her down. She wanted to laugh, to join in his playful banter, but instead, the words escaped her. "You should really take it easy. You're not a superhero, you know." Jake stood up, hands on his hips as if to strike a pose. "Well, I prefer to think of myself as a highly skilled amateur." He wiggled his eyebrows, and Sarah couldn't help but crack a smile. But underneath the laughter, something simmered. They shared an intensity that had shifted. It was subtle like the way the air gets charged before a thunderstorm, a tension embedded in their exchanges, often silenced by nervous laughter or fleeting glances. "Do you want to go for a walk?" he asked suddenly, shaking her from her reverie. "Yeah, sure," she replied, her heart racing again, not from anxiety but anticipation. There was something uplifting about being with him. They strolled through the neighborhood, Max leading the way, eager to explore every scent. The familiarity of the setting cast a warm glow over their connection. But with every step, Sarah felt the complexity of their relationship tugging at her. Was it sibling-like affection, or was there something deeper lingering just beneath the surface? "Remember when we used to sneak into the neighbor's treehouse?" Jake asked, casting a sidelong glance at her, a playful smirk dancing on his lips. Sarah laughed, a genuine sound that cut through the heavy air. "And we almost got caught by Mr. Thompson. I thought we would be grounded for life. I still can't believe you braved climbing down to get the frisbee," he scoffed. That was the bravest thing I'd ever seen. She looked away, her cheeks heating up at the flattery. "Yeah, well, I was a lot smaller back then." "Doesn't matter," he said, his tone suddenly more serious. "You were fearless, still are." A silence hung between them, filled with unspoken thoughts. She knew what he meant. She could feel the weight of the compliment, but it also struck a nerve. Was he talking about their relationship? Did he see her as the person she had been, or as part of this new family dynamic? The conversation shifted again, but the undertones shifted with it. "So what do you think of the new house?" Jake ventured as they turned down a quieter street. "It still feels strange. I haven't really settled in yet," Sarah confessed, looking at the houses lining the street. She studied their unfamiliar facades, trying to anchor herself. "It was a big change for all of us," Jake observed. "I'm still trying to wrap my head around it." "Yeah." It was on the tip of her tongue to ask more about his feelings regarding their new family, about how it felt to have to share his life with her, to intertwine their paths, yet still feel so distant. But before she could voice her thoughts, an unexpected noise shattered the moment-in eerie rustling from the nearby bushes. Startled, they stopped in their tracks, hearts racing. "What was that?" Sarah whispered, her eyes wide. "Let's check it out." Jake's adventurous side awakened as he edged closer to the noise, and Sarah's pulse quickened. "You're kidding, right?" she said, half laughing, trying to diffuse the tension. But he was already moving, and Sarah felt a strange mixture of fear and excitement. This was the Jake she used to know, the one who was always looking for the next thrill. She followed him, her grip tightening on Max's leash, wondering what they might uncover together, and what this day might reveal about their fractured bond. As they approached the bushes, Sarah felt the weight of expectation thick in the air. Something strange indeed awaited them, and in that moment, she couldn't help but wonder if it would change everything. Feel free to adjust or expand upon any elements to suit your vision further. The mystery in the woods. The rustling sound grew louder, but instead of running, Sarah felt an odd flutter of excitement mixed with fear. Jake looked back at her, his expression a blend of thrill and daring. "Come on, let's see what it is," he urged, stepping closer to the bushes that obscured whatever secrets lay behind them. "Are you sure about this?" she replied, her voice a whisper, slightly more concerned than adventurous. She tugged the leash tighter, as if preparing to pull Max back at a moment's notice. Jake turned to her, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "Where's your sense of adventure? We're not kids anymore. What's the worst that could happen?" Famous last words, Sarah muttered under her breath, half amused, half anxious, yet she couldn't help feeling drawn to his enthusiasm. Before she could argue, Jake pushed through the brush, and Sarah followed, gathering her courage. The trees seemed to close in around them, with shafts of sunlight filtering through the leaves, creating an almost magical atmosphere. The sounds of the outside world dulled, and the closer they got, the more intrigued Sarah became. What if they stumbled upon something mysterious? What if they discovered an adventure that would bring them closer together? As they ducked under a low-hanging branch, they emerged into a small clearing. In front of them stood an old, weather-beaten cabin, partially hidden by overgrown vines and brambles. It looked abandoned, with its wooden walls worn and gray, but something about it beckoned. "Wow," Jake breathed, stepping forward, his gaze fixed on the cabin. "This looks straight out of a horror movie." Sarah's heart raced at the sight. "More like out of a fairy tale," she replied, feeling a strange sense of wonder. Still, caution bubbled within her. "We shouldn't go inside. It could be dangerous." Jake shot her a playful smile. "Danger is the spice of life, Sarah." He gestured toward the door, which hung slightly ajar, creaking softly in the gentle breeze. "Besides, the real adventure is inside." Before she could protest, he was already at the door, pushing it open further with a deliberate creak that sent a shiver down her spine. The cabin's interior was dark and musty, illuminated only by the slivers of light filtering in through the cracks in the walls. Dust motes floated lazily in the air, and the scent of old wood and forgotten memories filled the space. "Stay close." "Max," Sarah instructed, more to herself than the dog, as she clutched the leash tighter. Jake stepped inside, striding with the confidence of someone who had done this 100 times before. Inside the cabin was a mishmash of old furniture, broken chairs and tables, some still holding remnants of whatever lives had inhabited them. A child's toy lay abandoned on the floor, a rusted tin truck that might have once sparked joy. Sarah couldn't help but feel a sense of melancholy wash over her. It spoke of days long gone, laughter now silenced. "Look at this," Jake exclaimed, bending down to pick up a dusty lantern from a nearby shelf. "We could totally use this for our next camping trip." "Jake, we should really head back," she replied, glancing at the dirt-covered window. What if someone finds us here? What if it's not as abandoned as we think? Oh, come on, he laughed, brushing away the dust from the lantern. You're just scared of ghosts. Or maybe I'm just rational, she shot back, her heart beating faster. But there was no denying that curiosity was creeping in, and the thrill of exploration tinged the air. A part of her wanted to delve deeper into the mystery, to strip away the layers of time that had settled over the cabin. Jake's eagerness seemed to give her courage, and after a moment's hesitation, she stepped inside. The further they ventured, the more the cabin enveloped them with its secrets. They stumbled upon what appeared to be a makeshift living area, a splintered coffee table surrounded by mismatched chairs, each adorned with a layer of dust. Papers lay strewn about, yellowed with age, hinting at stories long forgotten. Check this out, Jake called from the corner, where a shoddy bookshelf leaned precariously against the wall. He started pulling out old books, flipping through their cracked pages. These are all kids' stories. Looks like some previous family spent their days here reading together. As he rifled through the volumes, Sarah noticed something peculiar on the wall, a faded, hand-painted mural of fantastical creatures. It was brilliantly colored, and despite its age, it exuded a charm that made her smile. This was someone's happy place, she murmured, feeling an unexpected connection to the past. Jake glanced over, his eyebrows raised. You know, it could have been a normal family like ours. They could have had their fights, their moments of laughter. His gaze turned more serious under the glimmer of the murals, creating an intimacy between them that felt almost electric. Just then, they heard a louder noise coming from outside, branches snapping, a heavy rustle in the bushes. Both of them froze, locked in a silent exchange filled with escalating tension. "What was that?" Sarah whispered, her heart pounding. "Probably just an animal," Jake replied, though his voice lacked conviction. He glanced nervously at the door, biting his lip. "We should check it out," he said finally, as if trying to convince himself. Sarah felt that familiar knot of fear in her stomach. If it's just an animal, we should be okay. But if it's something else... Like what? She pressed, her eyes widening. Like, a ghost. He teased lightly. But they both knew that was the last thing on their minds. With cautious determination, they moved to the door. The sunlight streaming through suddenly felt almost blinding, contrasting sharply against the shadowy interior of the cabin. Sarah stepped out first, clenching her fists, and Max trotted beside her, fur bristling. The clearing was eerily quiet now, devoid of the previous rustling. Just as they started to relax, a sudden loud crash echoed from the bushes where they had discovered the cabin. "Oh my God," Sarah gasped, pulling Max tight against her legs. Jake instinctively stepped in front of her, his protective instincts kicking in. Before they could decide what to do, a small, scruffy dog burst into the clearing, tumbling through the underbrush. It paused, looking every bit as startled as they were, tail wagging furiously. Sarah let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "Just a dog?" she said, chuckling nervously. "Looks like it's been lost for a while," Jake observed, kneeling down and extending his hand cautiously toward the pup. "Hey there, little buddy. You okay?" The dog approached hesitantly, then rushed forward, showering Jake with slobbery kisses. "Seems friendly enough," he laughed, looking back at Sarah, relieved. "But where did it come from?" she pondered aloud. "We can't just leave it here," Jake decided, his face lighting up with determination. "We have to find its owner. It could be wandering the woods all alone." The thought tugged at Sarah's heart. "Okay, but how do we even start?" Jake stood up, brushing off his jeans. "Let's check the perimeter of the woods. Maybe there is a camp or a house nearby." As they began walking further into the wooded area, Sarah felt the comfort of Max's presence next to her, and the scruffy dog at her heels. A mix of excitement and trepidation filled her heart. This moment was meant to be just another day of walking, yet somehow it had trended into a delightful adventure, bridging a gap between her and Jake that had previously felt insurmountable. But in the interactions, with the lost dog exhilarating and innocent Sarah, felt something shift between her and Jake. There was an intimacy and caring. For the little creature, a sense of teamwork that made her feel closer to him than she had in a long time. She was reminded of simpler times, of shared adventures and carefree days. Do you think we'll find its owner? She asked, trying to break the silence as they walked. Absolutely, Jake replied confidently, scanning the trees ahead as if they were their compass. After all, we're a team. A warmth spread through her at his words. A team, she echoed softly, contemplating just how much their relationship had changed through these simple moments of exploration and connection. It was quiet and contemplative, and Sarah felt a soothing comfort as they ventured deeper into the woods, knowing they were bound by the thin thread of adventure and the heartwarming connection they were slowly rebuilding. The mysteries of the cabin had led them here, opening a door not just to an adventure, but to an exploration of their shared feelings and the landscape of their redefined relationship. Let's find that owner, she said, with a newfound determination, grinding her nerves into excitement. I can't wait to see the look on their face when we bring this little guy back home. And with that shared purpose, they continued into the embrace of the woods, the sense of adventure rekindled, and the echo of laughter mingling with the calls of distant birds, a blend of old memories and new possibilities shimmering in the golden afternoon light. The confession. The sun hung low in the sky as Sarah, Jake, and their newfound companion, the scruffy dog, traversed the winding trails of the woods. The air, thick with the scent of pine and fallen leaves, felt alive with possibility. Yet, beneath the excitement of their little adventure, a tension simmered an unspoken gravity between Sarah and Jake that neither could ignore. So, what do we even name him? Jake asked, glancing down at the dog, who had swiftly succumbed to the joys of following them and wagging his tail non-stop. Name him? Sarah echoed, taken aback. You mean we're just going to assume he's ours now? Why not? Jake replied with a grin. Look at him. He's basically screaming for a family. Okay, but we can't just name him and keep him if we find his owner. He might belong to someone who's worried sick, she pointed out, wrestling with the conflicting feelings of wanting to save this little creature from loneliness versus their mission to reunite him with his rightful family. True, Jake conceded, then scratched his chin in thought. How about we just call him Buddy for now? It's universal. Buddy it is. Sarah chuckled, feeling a fleeting sense of comfort from their camaraderie, a tiny spark diminishing the awkwardness she had felt earlier. As they wandered deeper into the woods, the trees seemed to grow denser and shadows lengthened. The vibrant sunlight gradually transformed into a softer glow, reminiscent of a fading dream. Sarah felt the thrill of exploration mingling with a sense of uncertainty. The woods had an uncanny way of both attracting and unsettling her. Just then, Buddy's ears perked up, and he darted ahead, momentarily breaking the tranquility. Hey, wait up, Buddy, Jake called out, taking several strides to catch up to the little dog. Sarah felt her stomach churn slightly. Something about Buddy's sudden urgency sent an electric jolt through her. It was as if the woods were whispering secrets, inviting them to follow. Where is he going? Sarah said, her voice tinged with concern. She quickened her pace, matching Jake's long strides. I don't know, but it might be a sign. Let's see. Jake's excitement was infectious as he bounded after the dog, leaving Sarah to chase behind. They soon lost sight of Buddy among the thickets. Just when Sarah began to wonder if they should turn back, a bark echoed through the trees. That way, Jake pointed, leading the charge once more. In their haste, they veered off the main path, branches snapping beneath their feet, leaves crunching as they pushed their way through. Sarah's heart raced with every passing moment, a mix of thrill and trepidation swirling within her. Would they actually find something extraordinary, or were they simply lost in the chaos of the woods? As they rounded a bend, they discovered a clearing that opened before them like a hidden treasure chest. In its center stood an ancient tree, its gnarled roots sprawling over the earth like giant hands trying to grasp the ground. The scene was enchanting, a forgotten world filled with vibrant wildflowers and lush greenery. In that moment, everything felt right. Jake's eyes widened in awe. This is amazing. Look at that tree. He stepped toward it, extending a hand as if to touch its bark. I can't believe we just found this, Sarah breathed, a sense of wonder creeping into her tone. But even as they admired the beauty surrounding them, unease lurked just beneath the surface. The dog, having paused to explore a nearby bush, suddenly stood still, as if sensing something that they couldn't. Jake turned to see Buddy's behavior. "Buddy?" he called, concern creeping into his voice. "What's wrong, boy?" A low growl emanated from Buddy, and with that every hair on Sarah's body stood on end. "Jake," she whispered, feeling the tension snap like a taut string. "I think something's in the bushes." Jake glanced around, his expression shifting from wonder to apprehension. "Stay close." They cautiously edged back, turning together to face where the dog was now standing, his gaze fixated on the thick underbrush. The world around them felt oddly still, as if holding its breath. Just then, a figure emerged from the shadows. Tall and indistinct, an older man clad in tattered clothing, his face obscured by a shadowy hood. "Who are you?" Jake called, his voice loud enough to mask the tremor of fear creeping in. "Easy there," the man said, raising his hands in mock surrender, but Sarah noted the wary look in his eyes. "I'm just a traveler." "Didn't mean to startle you?" Sarah could hardly believe her ears. "A traveler?" she echoed, still standing defensively beside Jake. "Yes," the man replied, stepping cautiously closer, his features growing clearer with the light. He had kind eyes, albeit weary and lined with age. "I get lost in these woods sometimes, looking for whatever it is that isn't in the world anymore." "What do you mean?" Jake shot back, his protective stance still firmly in place. "Just walking, enjoying the beauty," the man replied, his voice soft yet laden with an unsettling depth. "These woods hold many secrets, you know." Despite his tone, Sarah felt a shiver run down her spine. "How did you know we were here?" she pressed. "I didn't," he said, a smile playing on his lips. "But animals often lead the way, don't they?" Buddy had grown more comfortable, stepping closer to the man, nose twitching at the air around him. "He's just a friendly pooch," the man added, glancing at Buddy. "Few find their way here alone." "Is there something we should know?" Sarah ventured cautiously, her heart pounding in her chest. "There's always something to know," he replied cryptically, his eyes twinkling with a hint of mischief. "But knowledge comes at a cost, doesn't it?" Jake took a half step forward. "What do you mean by that?" "There is an energy in this place, in these woods," the man continued, glancing around as if to gauge their reactions. "Many come seeking answers. Some find them. Others are consumed by what they discover." Sarah exchanged a worried glance with Jake. "Consumed?" she questioned, her voice barely a breath. The older man nodded slowly. "Yes. The woods reveal what your heart truly desires, and for some, that desire can be dangerous." "What do you suggest we do?" Jake challenged, crossing his arms, his demeanor protective. "Not my place to tell you what to do," the man replied simply. "Just know there's a fine line between discovery and ignorance." With that, he took a step back, his gaze drifting toward the ancient tree. "I wish you both well on your journey," he said, before turning away and disappearing into the shadows from whence he came. Sarah's heart was racing, fear and confusion swirling within her. "What just happened?" she whispered, looking at Jake, who wore a similar expression of bewilderment. "I don't know," he admitted, running a hand through his hair. "That was strange. Do you think we should leave?" she asked, anxiety creeping up her spine as her instincts screamed that they had stumbled upon something far beyond their understanding. "No," Jake replied firmly. "I mean, yes, but let's at least figure this out first. We're already here. Maybe we can find what he's talking about?" "Yeah, but what if we unleash something we can't control?" she countered, feeling the weight of the woods settling over her. "Maybe we just need to stay grounded," he said, with more conviction than she felt. "We have Buddy now. Let's stick together." As they moved closer to the ancient tree, preparing to seek answers rather than run, Sarah felt an interesting blend of fear and resolve mingle within her. The woods would reveal their secrets, and perhaps in doing so, they would uncover their own truths. A creeping sense of adventure lingered in the air, tangled with the echo of the man's words. What if knowledge could unlock not just the mysteries of the woods, but also the truths buried within their own hearts? As they approached the tree, Sarah felt a pulsating energy that wrapped around her like a shroud, a quiet call to explore the depths of both the forest and their own emotions. In that moment, they stood at the threshold of an unknown journey, uncertain of where the path would lead them, but compelled to take the next step, together. An unexpected challenge. With the ancient tree standing sentinel, Sarah and Jake felt an exhilarating mix of trepidation and curiosity. The bark twisted and turned like a labyrinth of stories, while the leaves shimmered in the narrowing sunlight, whispering ancient secrets. Buddy, their little companion, seemed drawn to the tree as well, sniffing at its roots with fervor. "Let's see what we can find," Jake said, stepping forward with renewed determination. "If the woods are hiding anything, it might be under this tree." Sarah glanced apprehensively around the clearing, the memory of the stranger's words echoing ominously in her mind. "What if we uncover something we're not prepared for?" she asked, uncertainty clouding her voice. "We won't know until we try," Jake insisted, his adventurous spirit unyielding. "Dive into the unknown. It's part of the thrill." Against her better judgment, Sarah felt a pull toward the tree, a mix of excitement and dread coursing through her. "Okay, but let's be careful." As they approached the great trunk, they noticed a series of small carvings etched into the bark symbols that appeared both ancient and strange. Jake knelt down, brushing away dirt and debris to examine them closely. "These look like old runes or something," he mused. "Do you think they mean something?" "I don't know," Sarah admitted, peering over his shoulder. The runes twisted and turned, forming patterns that sparked a deep sense of connection, something alive within her soul. "There's something mysterious about them." "Let's touch them," Jake proposed, hesitating only for a moment. "Maybe they'll reveal more if we activate them somehow." Activate? I don't know if that's a good idea. But Jake was already reaching out, his fingers grazing the carvings. A shockwave rippled through the air, echoing like a vibration through their very beings. "Jake!" Sarah exclaimed, stepping back instinctively. The moment his fingers touched the runes, the air around them shimmered, casting odd shadows that flickered like a living tapestry. The sound of rustling leaves crescendoed, morphing into whispers that surrounded them. "Did you feel that?" Jake asked, wide-eyed, exhilaration coursing through him. "I did," Sarah admitted, her heart pounding, half in fear, half in thrill. "But it doesn't feel right." "We should go!" However, before they could retreat, the ground began to tremble beneath them. The tree's massive roots stirred, and for a fleeting moment, the underbrush seemed alive, curling upward as if reaching for something. Buddy barked nervously, his instincts kicking in. "Oh no, what did we do?" Sarah panicked, watching as the clearing transformed around them. The air thickened and shadows deepened, the whispers turning into unrecognizable words, swirling like a storm. "Stay close," Jake shouted, grabbing her hand as they stumbled backward, caught in the chaos unfolding. The tree's roots extended further, creating a barrier that encircled them. "What is happening?" she demanded, fear flooding her voice. "I don't know," Jake replied, his expression shifting from excitement to alarm. Suddenly, a light emanated from the core of the tree, illuminating the space like a beacon. The shadows retreated, revealing an ethereal figure coalescing before them, a ghostly being formed from strands of light and energy, its eyes reflecting centuries of wisdom and sorrow. "Who summons the energy of the ancients?" the figure intoned, a voice echoing like distant thunder, simultaneously enthralling and terrifying. Jake, still holding Sarah's hand tightly, took a step forward, his voice steady. "We didn't mean any harm. We were just curious." The figure fixed its gaze upon them, and for a heartbeat, silence enveloped the clearing. Curiosity is a double-edged sword. To seek knowledge is noble, yet wisdom must guide your heart. "What do you mean?" Sarah questioned, her voice barely above a whisper. "We only wanted to help the dog we found." "Help," the figure reiterated, the air vibrating with its voice. "Your hearts yearn to bond with nature, but this energy demands respect. You must prove your worthiness." Suddenly, the energy surrounding them twisted, forming a swirling vortex toward the base of the tree. "You shall face a challenge. Overcome it, and the knowledge you seek shall be revealed. Fail and you may be lost to the woods." "Challenge," Jake echoed, glancing at Sarah. Uncertainty etched on his face. "Are you ready to embrace what lays ahead?" the figure asked with a penetrating gaze. "Ready?" Sarah murmured. A mix of determination rose within her. "We came this far. We can do this together." "Together," Jake affirmed, squeezing her hand. The energy of unity surged between them, emboldening them. "Very well," the figure proclaimed, raising its ethereal hands. "Face the spirit of the woods, and let your hearts guide you." In an instant, the ground beneath them transformed into a shimmering pathway of light, leading deeper into the heart of the forest. Unfazed, the ghostly figure vanished, leaving only the sound of the rustling trees. "What now?" Sarah asked, both exhilarated and terrified. "We follow the light," Jake said firmly, stepping ahead with confidence. Hand in hand, they ventured into the unknown, stepping onto the pathway that urged them forward. The lights flickered around them as if inviting them deeper into the mysteries of the woods. As they moved, they soon found themselves in a vast circular clearing flooded with luminescent flowers, shimmering under the moonlit sky. At the center was an ancient stone well, the source of a radiating glow emanating in waves of warmth and energy. Suddenly, the air crackled with tension again, and the presence of an unseen force lingered. They weren't alone. From the shadows emerged a dark, shadowy creature, twisting and shifting until it formed a shape similar to a wolf, but iridescent and foreboding. Who dares tread on sacred ground? It growled, its voice deep and rumbling, sending chills down Sarah's spine. "We seek knowledge," Jake declared boldly, though Sarah could see the uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "Knowledge comes at a price," the creature responded, advancing slowly. "You must pass a test, one that challenges not just your strength but your resolve." "What kind of test?" Sarah dared to ask. "Only the truth will guide you. Speak of your fears, your desires, and reveal the light within," it answered cryptically. She felt fear churn in her stomach. "We have nothing to hide. We just want to understand. Then accept the challenge." The creature lunged forward, and a wave of energy surged between them, splitting the air with a tangible force like a lightning bolt. "Jake!" Sarah cried, gripping his hand tightly as the air thickened with uncertainty. "We can do this," he shouted back. "We just need to share what's in our hearts." In that moment, they stood together, hearts racing, the presence of the supernatural pressing down upon them. A silence fell, broken only by the rustling of leaves. Sarah felt a vulnerability rise within her, a desire to share the truth that had been coiling in her chest. "I'm scared of losing what we have," she admitted, her voice trembling, "of losing you as my stepbrother, this friendship, and more. I don't want things to change." The creature's form wavered, listening intently to her confession. Jake's grip tightened around her hand as he shared his truth too. "I too fear loss. I fear that I won't be enough to protect those I care about. And I want to explore who I am beyond the shadow of family expectations." The air thickened further, and a warm light enveloped them. The creature paused, the malevolent energy fading slightly. "Speak your truth, and it shall empower you." With deeper breaths, they found strength together. "We want to grow and support each other," Sarah added, her words ringing clear. "We want to face whatever lies ahead, side by side." As if hearing their sincerity, the creature transformed, the shadows lifting as it morphed into a beautiful spirit, a guardian of the woods. "You have spoken from your hearts, and the spirits shall guide you. Your bond can stand against the trials ahead. But remember," it warned, eyes glimmering with ancient wisdom, "even the strongest bond is tested in darkness. Trust in yourselves and each other." A bright pulse of light erupted from the well, illuminating the clearing, and Sarah felt the warm embrace of energy wrap around them, bolstering their spirits. The creature gestured towards the well, now glowing brighter than ever. "Here lies the knowledge you seek. But be warned, wisdom can reveal truths that may not be easy to bear." With hearts pounding and their fears momentarily quelled, they approached the well. Peering over the edge, a swirling mist emanated from its depths, beckoning them closer. "Are you ready?" Jake asked, looking at Sarah with determination. "Ready," she replied, feeling a fierce surge of loyalty and courage. Together, hand in hand, they leaned over the well, ready to unveil the mysteries hidden beneath the surface. As they gazed into the swirling depths, darkness and light danced before them, and a deeper understanding of their hearts began to surface. What awaited them would change everything, but there was no turning back now. Together, they were prepared to face the unknown and perhaps themselves.